Assalamu alaikum everyone. Welcome back to Learn with SAK. Today we are going to discuss one of the most important topic in economics, which is elasticity of demand. In our previous lectures, we learned about demand and the law of demand. Now the question arises, when price changes, does demand always change by the same amount? The answer is no. Some products experience a large change in demand when price changes, while others experience only a small change. This responsiveness of demand is known as elasticity of demand. In this lecture, we will learn its meaning, degrees, methods of measurement, types, factors affecting elasticity, and its importance in business and government decision making. So let's begin. By the end of this lecture, you will be able to first define elasticity of demand and understand its meaning. Second, explain different degrees of elasticity such as elastic, inelastic, and unitary demand. Third, calculate elasticity using various methods. Number 4, distinguish between price elasticity, income elasticity, and cross elasticity. Number 5, understand the factors that influence elasticity. And finally, explain why elasticity is important for business and governments. These concepts are frequently asked in examination and are also highly useful in practical business decisions. Now let's begin with elasticity of demand. Elasticity of demand measures how much quantity demanded respond to changes in price or other factors. In simple words, elasticity tells us whether consumers react strongly or weakly when price change. The formula is elasticity of demand equals percentage change in quantity demanded divided by percentage change in price. For example, suppose the price of a product falls by 10% and as a result demand increases by 20%. Elasticity will be 20 divided by 10 equals to 2. Since elasticity is greater than 1, demand is elastic. This means consumers are highly responsive to price changes. Elasticity is not always the same. It can vary from product to product. Economists classify elasticity into 5 degrees: perfectly elastic demand, relatively elastic demand, unitary elastic demand, relatively inelastic demand, and perfectly inelastic demand. Each degree represents a different level of consumer responsiveness. Let's study them one by one. Perfectly elastic demand is a situation in which consumers are extremely sensitive to changes in price. Perfectly elastic demand is a theoretical concept. In this case, even a small increase in the price of a product causes the quantity demanded to fall to zero. Consumers immediately stop buying the product and switch to other alternatives. Consumers are extremely sensitive to price changes. The elasticity value is infinite. The demand curve is horizontal, although this situation rarely exists in real life. It helps economists understand the highest possible elasticity. Now let's take an example. Suppose there are 100 of wheat sellers in a market. The market price of wheat is rupees 100 per kg. A particular seller can sell 100 kg at rupees 100, 500 kg at rupees 100, 1000 kg at rupees 100. But if he changes to rupees 101 instead of rupees 100, consumers will buy from other sellers. His demand becomes zero. This shows perfect elastic demand. Now let's come to the second degree of elasticity, which is relatively elastic demand. It occurs when the percentage change in quantity demanded is greater than the percentage change in price. The elasticity value is greater than 1. For example, if price decreases by 10% and demand increases by 25%, elasticity will be 2.5. This indicates that consumers are highly responsive to price changes. For example, it includes luxury goods, branded products, soft drinks, and expensive electronic items. Because many substitutes are available, consumers can easily switch brands. The third degree is unitary elastic demand. Unitary elastic demand occurs when the percentage change in demand is exactly equal to the percentage change in price. Elasticity equals to 1. For example, if price falls by 10% and demand rises by 10%, elasticity is 1. In this situation, total revenue remains unchanged. Businesses carefully study this situation because changes in price neither increase nor decrease total revenue. Degree is relatively inelastic demand. Relatively inelastic demand occurs when demand changes less than the change in price. Elasticity is less than 1. Examples include salt, medicines, electricity, petrol. Consumer continue purchasing the product despite price changes. These products are necessities, so consumers cannot easily stop buying them. Therefore, demand remains relatively inelastic. To the fifth degree of elasticity, which is perfectly inelastic demand. Perfectly inelastic demand represents the extreme case where demand does not change at all, regardless of price changes. Elasticity equal to 0, the demand curve is vertical. A common example is life-saving medicines. Even if prices increases significantly, patients still need the medicine. Therefore, quantity demanded remains constant. The main methods to find price elasticity of demand. Economists use different methods to calculate price elasticity. The four important methods are percentage method or flux method, outlay method, point elasticity method, and arc elasticity method. Each method serves as a specific purpose depending on the situation. Let's discuss each method separately. The first method to calculate elasticity is percentage or flux method. It compares the percentage change in quantity demanded with the percentage change in price. For example, price decreases from 100 to 80, demand increases from 50 to 70. Percentage change in demand is 40% while the percentage change in price is 20%. Elasticity equals 40 divided by 20, which is 2. Since elasticity is greater than 1, demand is elastic. This method provides a quick measure of consumer responsiveness. Now the second method is outlay method. This method is also called total expenditure method, and according to this method, total expenditure equals price multiplied by quantity. We observe how total expenditure changes when price changes. If price falls and total expenditure increases, demand is elastic. If price falls and total expenditure remains unchanged, demand is unitary elastic. If price falls and total expenditure decreases, demand is inelastic. This method is easy to understand because it focuses on consumer spending behavior. Now, what is point elasticity? Point elasticity measures elasticity at a particular point on the demand curve. This method is useful when we want to know elasticity at a specific price and quantity combination. On a straight line demand curve, elasticity is calculated using the ratio of the lower segment to the upper segment. This method is commonly used in economic analysis and advanced studies. Now, question arises, what is lower and upper segment? Lower and upper segments are the terms used to divide a market based on income level, purchasing power, or product pricing. Lower segment consists of consumers with lower income levels. Customers are usually price sensitive. They prefer affordable and basic products. Business focus on offering value of money. For example, budget mobile phones, economy clothing brands, low-cost transportation services. Upper segment consists of consumers with high income levels. Customers are generally less sensitive to price and more concerned about quality, exclusivity, and brand images. They prefer premium or luxury products, for example, luxury cars, designer clothing, premium hotels, and resorts. This method is arc elasticity of demand. Arc elasticity of demand measures the elasticity responsiveness of demand between 2 points on a demand curve. It is especially useful when there is a large change in price and quantity. Formula is simple. ED is equal to delta Q divided by delta P, multiplied by P1 plus P2 divided by Q1 plus Q2, where P1 and P2 is initial and new prices, while Q1 and Q2 is initial and new quantities. Delta Q is change in quantity, that is Q2 minus Q1, and delta P is change in price, P2 minus P1. For example, suppose we have price increases from 100 rupees to 120. Quantity demanded increases from 50 unit to 40 unit. Now find changes first. Delta Q is minus 10, delta P is 20. So we will solve the problem, and ED is equals to 1.22. Ignoring the negative sign, we have 1.22. Since elasticity is greater than 1, demand is elastic. Now advantage. It provides more accurate results for larger price changes. In point elasticity, we calculate elasticity at a single point on the demand curve. It works best when the change in price is very small. However, when price changes significantly, point elasticity may give different answers, depending on whether we move from point A to point B or from point B to point A. Arc elasticity solves this problem by using the average of both prices and quantities, because it uses the midpoint average method. It treats both points equally. It gives the same elasticity whether price rises or falls. It is more reliable for large price changes. It reduces calculation biasness. Types of elasticity. Number 1 is price elasticity. Price elasticity of demand measures how quantity demanded respond to changes in price. It is the most commonly used elasticity concept. For example, when the price of mobile phone decreases, more people may purchase them. Similarly, when price increases, demand usually falls. Business use price elasticity to decide whether they should increase or decrease prices. And the formula is simple. Change in quantity demanded divided by change in price. It should be in percentages. Type is income elasticity. It measures how demand changes when consumer income changes. And formula is simple. Change in quantity demanded divided by change in income. It will also be in percentages. For example, there are 3 categories of goods: normal goods, luxury goods, and inferior goods. Normal goods are the goods demand increases when income increases. And in luxury goods, demand increases more than proportionality when income increases. And in inferior goods, demand decreases when income increases because consumers switch to better alternatives. For example, as income rises, people may buy more cars and fewer bicycles. Type is cross elasticity of demand. Cross elasticity of demand measures how demand for one product changes when the price of another product changes. Formula is change in quantity of one product divided by change in the price of another product, which is Y. Now example, substitute goods and complementary goods. Substitute goods, tea and coffee. If the price of tea rises, people may buy more coffee. Complementary goods, cars and petrols. If petrol prices rise significantly, demand for cars may decrease. Cross elasticity helps business understand market competition and product relationships. Affecting elasticity. Number 1 is availability of substitutes. When a product has many close substitutes, consumers can easily switch to another product if the prices rises. Therefore, demand becomes more elastic. For example, if the price of Pepsi increases, consumer may buy Coca-Cola instead. Since substitutions are available, demand for Pepsi is elastic. Number 2 is nature of commodity. Necessities are essential for daily life, so people continue buying them even if prices increases. Therefore, demand for necessity is usually inelastic. Luxury goods, on the other hand, tend to have elastic demand. For example, medicines and basic food items are necessities, while luxury watches and designer bags are only luxuries. Number 3 is number of uses. Goods that have multiple uses generally have more elastic demand because consumer can increase or decrease their usage depending on price changes. For example, electricity can be used for lighting, heating, cooling, and operating appliances. If electricity becomes cheaper, people may use more of it, making demand relatively elastic. Number 4 is income level. Consumers with Higher income levels are generally less affected by price changes because the product costs represent a smaller portion of their income. Therefore, their demand tends to be elastic. For example, a wealthy person may continue buying a premium smartphone even if its prices increases, while a lower income consumer may postpone the purchase. Number 5 is time period. Demand becomes more elastic over time because consumers have more opportunities to find alternatives or changes their consumption habits. Example, if petrol prices increases today, people may continue buying the same amount initially. Over time, they may switch to public transport or fuel efficient vehicles. Number 6 is habit forming goods. For example, products that create habits or addiction often have an elastic demand because consumers find it difficult to reduce consumption even when price rises. Example, many smokers continue purchasing cigarettes despite significant price changes. Proportion of income. Number 7. When a product takes up a large portion of a consumer's income, people become more sensitive to price changes, making demand more elastic. For example, a rise in the price of a car may significantly affect purchasing decisions, whereas a small increase in the price of a pencil may go unnoticed. Number 8 is durability of product. Durable goods can be used for long periods and their purchases can often be postponed. Therefore, demand for durable goods is usually more elastic. Example, if the price of a refrigerator increases, consumers may delay buying a new home one. However, they cannot easily postpone purchasing perishable items like milk. Elasticity is extremely important in economics. For business, it helps determine prices, it helps in profit maximization, it supports production planning, it guides marketing strategies. And for governments, it helps design taxation policies, it assists in deciding subsidies, it influences public utility pricing, it supports economic planning. To conclude, elasticity of demand helps us understand how consumers react to changes in price, income, and related goods. It is an essential tool for business, government, and economists. Thank you for watching. If you found this lecture helpful, please like, share, and subscribe to learn with SAK. See you in the next lecture. Thank you.